this video, I want to show you how to apply and register, what are the schedules and fees for API 1169 Pipeline Construction Inspector. So if you type in API ICP, you will Google it. You'll see the first site that's coming up, Individual Certification Program. And if you click on this, you go to API Individual Certification Program page. Now, if you click on certification here, drop-down window comes that if you select the 1169, it will show you the page for Pipeline Construction Inspector 1169, all the exam information, qualification, recertification, etc. We shall quickly go through all these pages. You can do this exam in person, or you can do through remote proctoring. All the security measures on both are same. Remote proctoring is a bit more stricter because if you attend it in person in one of the Prometric test centers, you will receive a couple of papers and pencil plus a pocket calculator if you want to do some calculation, make some notes. On remote proctoring, you're not allowed to do that. We shall go through all these informations. Very first thing, it says that API 1169 pipeline construction should be knowledgeable about the general onshore pipeline construction inspection, and you should know about the inspector responsibilities, personnel, and general pipeline safety, and also environmental and pollution control. This certificate, once you pass, is valid for 3 years. After 3 years, you need to recertify, showing that 20% of the time you have worked as an API 1169 pipeline inspector. And it also says here that this exam tests the applicant's knowledge in the relevant codes and standards necessary to perform inspection activities during construction of new onshore pipeline. So there is no maintenance or operation, it's a new onshore pipeline. They have also brought 2 sets of documents, and as you can see, one is the publication effectiveness sheet and the other one is body of knowledge, and each one is 2. And it's got a time window like until September 2022. You have to use this publication effectiveness sheet, and for the exam after that, which was on December 2022 until September next year, it will be the other one. The reason is that this publication effectiveness sheet reference material are being revised on annual basis almost. And the publication effectiveness sheet is structured based on a typical job description of an API 1169 pipeline construction inspector. So based on what he is supposed to do as his job description, they will come up with what he is supposed to know then. And what he's supposed to know will be the reference documents in the publication effectiveness sheet. Let's go on the one that's happening on December onwards, and let's see what you can find here. And anything here on red would be a revision compared to the last one. So API 1169, obviously the pipeline construction inspection, this document, 2nd edition, March 2022. Then it would be 1110 pressure testing, spec Q1, which is more or less an ISO 9000, based on 9000, and it would be section 345 only, a specification for quality management system, and the Z49.1 safety in building, CGA best practices, INGA construction safety guidelines, CS9 pressure testing. This is again safety side of it. ISO 9000 2015. Only the definition here or vocabulary, and this is more or less same as the spec Q1, but here you only need to understand the definitions or vocabulary. 1104, building of pipeline related facilities, which gives you the acceptance criteria for effects. Then there are a list of documents, US and Canadian documents, because this certification is accepted by the Canadian as well. So there is a list of Canadian documents, and these as well as US documents. These documents are environmental and safety documents, and these documents, like 12 US documents, will constitute the open book part of the exam. And I would always suggest that you flag off these questions and then solve them at the end, because open book questions takes a little longer to answer, because you have to go to the relevant document to find the answer. So any safety and environmental things that you don't need to memorize any numbers, you can find here. There would be around one question out of one each at least, so expect around 12 to 15 questions based on safety and environment issues. And then there is P31.4 and 31.8, which API says that you do not need to study this. This is just for guidance only, not required for the exam, because all this information that we need from these two codes are already on API 1169. Let's see what is the body of knowledge. So body of knowledge again is list of the documents and it gives you some explanation here. Tell you, say for example, that this exam has been reviewed and approved by Canadian expert for use by Canadian pipeline industry, and it asks you what you need to know. For example, 1169 entire document, there is no revision here. The revision already brought in application effectivity sheet. Section 345 on ANSI, you need to study again chapter 4 to 8. DGA Common Ground Alliance. This is a document that been agreed upon through a coordination between over some 700 operators, and they came to some basic rules. And actually this is the document that is the prime document for pipeline construction inspector, not API 1169. Construction safety guidelines, what you need to study, CS9, ISO 9001, and then on 1104, which chapter you have to study, and the US references. You can see here. And then if you want to study as a guide, which chapter of B31.4 and 31.8 you should study. And then it comes here, it says examination content based on the specific areas of knowledge and proficiencies. And this inspector should be knowledgeable about quality assurance, safety, environment, training and qualification. On front-end construction, it all details the various levels of pipeline construction, what you should know, alignment sheet, permits, landowner requirements, written or electronic reporting, installation, construction, which includes stringing, bending, welding, trenching. You should have an overall knowledge about all these benchmark phases of pipeline construction. And back-end construction, which is cathodic protection, survey, backfill, right-of-way cleanup, hydro test, pigging, and post-construction. So it practically gives you a picture of what they expect a pipeline construction inspector needs to know. Now, for qualification, one more thing. This is a 3 hours long, 180 minutes, and there are 115 questions. Only 100 are scored. The remaining 15 are pre-test and are not scored. The reason of this pre-test question is API keeps updating its question data bank and designing new question by subject matter experts. And this question is checked by 3 other subject matter experts in the view of whether the question is written clearly and whether this question is something that API 1169 pipeline construction inspector should know. So once it passed that test, it goes into pre-test or experimental questions, the statistics that comes out of it is that was the question was too difficult, how many % of people have answered it, was it a reasonable number of people, was it too easy, or has it been challenged by the candidates. Once it passed the second test, it goes into permanent data bank and become a scored question. So the scored, non-scored question are shuffled together. They are not marked, so you have to answer all of them. So that means 180 minutes, 115 question. So that is roughly around 1.5 minutes per question you have. If during the exam you waste more than 1 minute per question, then you should just flag it off and jump to the next question, because you don't want to be short of time, especially considering that around 15 questions will be from safety and environment and open book question, where these codes and documents, they would be those 12 US documents or Canadian documents, whichever you want to choose, would be available to you. So you need to navigate through them, and it takes time. So that's why we recommend that you flag them off if you cannot answer them quick enough, and use and then attempt them at the end, so you're not short of time. There is no negative marking, so answer all the questions, and then at the end, click the review button and see that you have answered them. There's a tutorial that 10 minutes is allocated to that, excluding your 180 minutes, or if you end it earlier. And this tutorial tells you how the icons work. For example, your name would come here. This is how the actual exam happens. Your remaining time comes here, and the number of questions you have attempted would be coming on the top here. And if you want to finish this, you can click this at any time, and it will ask you for confirmation in case you clicked it by accident. And the question you are attempting, it will show on the column on the left, and you can jump to all the other questions. You don't need to go question by question. So it tells you it's 150 question, 180 minutes to answer, and you can do the next or back, go to a previous question or the next question, and you can click on this and start the test if you have read this and tutorial. Using the mouse is the same as you do on a laptop, like I'm doing. And if you want to navigate through questions, you can jump in, as it says here. So the question that you have not attempted, they have a different color. And if there is a long question, it says this page requires scrolling. So you have to go down until you read the whole question and then answer it. The remaining time, as we said, is on the top. So always keep a tab of the remaining time, so you're not short of time. There is a flag off button that if any question you're in doubt, answer it. So to ensure that you have answered all the questions, because there is no negative marking, this will increase your chance of passing. And then at the end, you could come to this flagged off question and answer them better or to the best of your knowledge. If you click on a question, it will change color. So that's a question you have chosen. There is a calculator on the desktop with this icon of calculator that you can click on this and open the calculator if you want to do some calculation is needed. If you want to highlight the text, you can click and drag the mouse over that and it will highlight it for you. And you can also right click and on a question that you think is absolutely wrong, so you can strike them off so that you can zoom on the other possible answers. And then at the end you can click the review all button with this icon, and you can filter it by unattempted question, attempted, and the flagged off question, or all the question. You can filter it, or you can look at all questions. Anything that is being flagged off or unattempted, they have a different color. Like this one's is not attempted and flagged off. This one was not attempted at all. So you can go to that question on the left corner and answer it. And if you want to leave a caption or a comment on a question, below each question there is a comment sheet that you can do, but this is coming off your time. So remember that anything you do, you go to toilet, drinking water, you have to check out or tap out and tap in. And every time they would ask you, they verify your security question, they ask you, they verify your identity and all that, and it's all coming off your time. So please use your time wisely. And the open book part, there is the list of documents comes like this. So you should know what each document is about, and you click on that, and you can see the sections here, the list of tables. And remember that the search button is disabled. You should have a fair idea where you should find that piece of information to answer an open book question. We have highlighted all the 12 US documents. You can download them directly from API ICP or from our website with the highlighted version. So you know most of the question, where is it coming from, and keep frequenting that. At the end, you click on finish test, and it will ask you again whether you are sure about this, and then once you click, that's the end of the exam. Or if automatically the exam is completed once you run out of time. So once the exam is completed, you receive whether you passed or failed. So it's either a preliminary pass, a preliminary fail, and a marginal. A marginal means too close to call. The reason is that you need to roughly answer 70% of the question, and API wants to standardize the level of difficulty across all the exam windows and examinations. So they sort of scale, they call it a scaling. So you should have a minimum 400 and a maximum of 500 marks. And this practically means around 69 to 70% that you should score. Schedule and fees. If you look at the schedule, you click on this button, schedule and fees, and you come to this section. You can see that first exam was on April 1169, and 2022, and then there was another exam on August to September with a deadline of June 10. So you should have submitted your application by this date. And the next exam is on December 2 to 23 with a deadline of September 30 for 1169. So that means if you want to attend the December 2 to 23, this 3 weeks exam window, you should have applied for this and received your email authorization, and then select the parametric test center by September 30. The dates for 2023 are more or less the same. So you have April exam, and there is one on August, and then there is one again on December. Remember that once you apply, you have to select the exam window also. Once you select the exam window, the 3 weeks window, one of them, so that's frozen for you. And if you want to change that window, it's as good as failing the exam, because you have to pay a rescheduling fee. So even if you fail also, you have to pay a rescheduling fee. The fees are $480 for non-member fee. Now, you cannot be an API member. API does not give individual membership. So most of candidates end up paying $480. You can pay $360 if you are working for a company who is an API member. Not many companies are API members. I mean, there's just probably around 4,000 of them in the world. And recertification, every 3 years you have to recertify, pay $360. And if you want to reschedule, you have to pay $150. The late application fee is when you want to recertify. You can apply for recertification 90 days before your expiry of your certificates and up to 90 days after the expiry, subject to late application fee of $150. After that, you need to, your certificate will get totally expired, and you have to, if you want to keep being certified, you have to do the initial exam and pay the full fees of $480 and start attend the exam all over again. So that's all. I think we covered most of the API 1169 from the API website. If you want to know more, you can study our first and second module on API 1169 course, and this is free for all. And you can also try our free quiz. We have discussed it in much more detail. In basic facts, we give an exam tips. There is a benchmark quiz, there is body of knowledge and exam tips. So lots of information are free there. And if you would like to purchase the course, that's entirely up to you. Thank you for listening, and see you in our next video.